Hey guys, welcome to the Big Blue United podcast. My name is TJ. I'm here with Colin, and we got our special guest tonight, Nicky Snacks. You guys know him at snacks_BDGE on Twitter. How you guys doing tonight?
Good. A lot better than previous weeks. So looking good.
All right, Colin, I share your sentiment, buddy. I feel strangely really good, and it's weird. I don't know if I like it yet.
It's hard to let yourself feel positive, but you know, it's sort of something that you need to let into your heart at this point.
Yeah,
you gotta open yourself up.
Right. I have spent so long just developing and maintaining my miserable self and my miserable ways that this seems impossible to be happy and excited.
Yeah.
But here we are.
Who is it? Like Justin Pennick, what he tweeted the other day is like, "Am I excited to be a Giants fan?"
Yeah,
it's
like with a question mark.
Yeah. You know what the worst?
You have to ask yourself.
The worst part about it is nothing's happened yet to warrant it. There's just new people in the building. That's it.
By far the best part of the whole thing. They have said a bunch of words.
Yeah.
They've made no actions, and yet we're still happy.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, at least the words they say are meaningful and not just contrived nonsense as we usually hear, but we'll get into that in a second. As usual, guys, please follow Big Blue United on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Follow us directly on Twitter at BBU Podboys with a Z. Download that DraftKings app, and don't forget to check out westernrise.com for all your fancy clothing needs and not fancy clothing needs, whatever you're into. They got it. It's great. So let's just jump in and just talk about the Daboll hire, because that is what's going on today. And Nicky, I wanted to jump into a tweet that you made that you said Daboll was a disgusting looking man.
Yes.
And we had a pod I think it was 2 pods back called Hot Coaches Only. So we're definitely on the same page there. So I think that's why we needed to have you on, because this is going to be a very spirited discussion. That being said, what part of Middle Earth do you think that he's from? Too soon?
Oh man, I gotta tell you, I've gone on numerous podcasts and everything like that. That first question is by far the funniest one I've been at.
He looks like Gimli's brother.
That's a good thing to me. He's I mean, the press conference was great today. I felt really good about it. And my favorite part was he's like, is that the section with the bald guys with beards? Is there a seat for me back there? It's great.
So to me, like I watched it with my brother, and we laughed a lot. Every time like a reporter asked a question, he's like, "What's up?
Yeah.
How are you?"
Yeah.
Good. Glad to hear it.
Well, they were
They seemed so unused to it. It was hilarious.
Who was it? Was it Ian O'Connor or whatever his name is? Or no, it was someone else. Someone else was just like, I'm doing fine, thank you.
Yeah.
I don't know what to do now.
Yeah. It was hysterical. And then he came after Matt Lombardo. He's like, "Well, would you show up late?" Yeah, it's unacceptable.
Yeah.
I also like he was giving Paul Schwartz some business too. He's like, well,
yes.
He's like, what do you think about, being a young or old coach in the league and having experience? He's like, well, am I young or old? I was like, Paul Schwartz, I'm not a big fan of the New York Post in general. So any ribbing on them is positive for me.
It's a positive. Yeah. And he goes, well, you're young to me. He goes, "Oh, well, good." Yeah. So just on a personal, I guess, quick thoughts on the press conference and everything without going into the structure and substance of his words. He just comes off as non-robotic and very likable. This locker room is definitely going to like him. Yeah. And the comments that some of the Bills players have made on social media and everything, like Stephon Diggs, he clearly had a lot of respect in that organization. So just on a likable standpoint and a non-robotic standpoint, which, I was out on Judge after this year, but I didn't hate Joe Judge. I thought he walked into a mess he couldn't get out of. Yeah. But his press conference, which we all loved, was way too much. It was way too robotic. Daboll came out and he was a personable guy. He showed you his side, that somebody you want to go sit and have a beer with. And I think for a coach, that's pretty important.
Well, he made the point twice. It was in the beginning and then towards the end about how I'm just going to be me. This is all you're going to get right here. Yeah. And he almost drove it home that there's not going to be this cover, this face that I'm going to put on to pump you up. It's like, no, I know what I'm talking about. I know what I'm doing. I'm a coach of men. I want to get to know these guys. I want to get to know their families, stuff like that. It's very important because I feel like a lot of these guys, they go into it with the CEO attitude, like they're put up on a pedestal, or they're Mr. Oz behind the curtain, and you don't need that. You need a guy who's going to inspire someone and want to fight for them.
Yep. And just look around. I'm sorry, TJ.
No. Go ahead.
Like looking around the league, and like the most successful coaches, they have this. I don't want to call it like a brotherhood, because the coach is usually a little bit older outside of like Sean McVay, but they all have this respect for their coach and their players, and the coach treats them like dudes. They're not like not employees almost. I'm trying to find the right words to put it, but it's not like a dictatorship or anything like that. It's like, yeah, my wife's gonna cook dinner. You're more than welcome to come over. Like that's on the human aspect level of it. That's awesome to me. And these professional athletes, yes, they make $20 million a year. They're all rich. They're all famous. They can do whatever they want. But they're also humans too. So you have to connect with them on a human level and have that kind of relationship. So that was a breath of fresh air, and I think he really brings that to the Giants.
I totally agree with you guys, and I have to say that I really love the cut of his jib, personally. I had to throw that in there. But yeah, I mean, he just comes off as an authentic guy, and he just kept saying, thanking the support staff and thanking the owners for the opportunity, and basically just saying we're going to do it together as a team, try to streamline operations between him and Shane. I think someone asked him about, their relationship, how that was going to work. He just basically said everything that I wanted to hear regarding that, because there was clearly a disconnect going on between the front office and the coaching staff for a very long time, whether it was Judge and Gettleman, or Gettleman and anybody, just Gettleman and anybody, anytime he's ever been on any team. You would imagine.
And he also made the point of that too, about how there has to be the synergy between, or partnership between the GM and the head coach. And it's just, I mean, it's funny that the more and more we hear about other Bills staff members being attributed to the team, like what was the last thing we saw? The offensive line coach.
Line coach, yeah.
Yeah. What's his name? Johnson something. Johnson?
Hang on. Bob Johnson.
Bob Johnson.
Bob Johnson. What a name.
Offensive line.
Made up person.
It's a made up person. But yeah, just going back to, the saying hello to everybody, it's just sort of like he was the main focus of that room. He took over that room. If you could do that in a room full of players, adult men, be a leader of men and not talk to them, as you said before, I think it's a hard position to go into. The guy has a lot of experience. He listed down everyone he worked for. I'm just really pleased with this after listening to Joe Judge just spit out this sort of contrived nonsense of just like, we gave it 110% and I liked what I saw here and we'll watch the film. I think from Daboll, you're going to get honesty and authenticity. Yes. And I think that's what we need. And openness and willingness to work with people, which I don't think Gettleman wanted to do, and I don't think Judge was ever put in a circumstance to be able to do.
No, and I couldn't agree more. And to Colin's point, where he was stressing like being on the same page as the GM and the ownership and the coaching staff, Joe Shane and Brian Daboll literally have in both of their press conferences talked ad nauseum of being on the same page and being one, united front in building this the right way. And they've stressed continuity and everything like that. So that is a very, very big difference from what we were used to. And I don't think we'll ever know because to me, Judge was a Mara hire. Like, I don't think Gettleman had any say in hiring Joe Judge. And that's why Gettleman should have been fired with Shermer as well. But I want to talk about the past, the miserable past. And it was very different to see human beings talk, because you go back to Shane's presser and you could tell the guy was nervous. Like he was up there very, very nervous. He was fidgety. You could just hear it. I felt my chest beating for him, but he's a human being, and he wasn't coming off with these loud proclamations of, I'm coming in here to kick ass, as Dave Gettleman said. I'm not going to, I'm going to fix the O-line. No guarantees. And Daboll did the same thing. He goes, I'm not making any promises or anything. We're going to build this the right way, build this. And that's all. It's all we've wanted to hear. Let's all do it the smart way. And if it takes a year, 2 years, 3 years, we're okay with that. As long as you have a long-term plan and you stick to it and you go with that. And I think this brain trust in Shane and Daboll is the right tandem to lead us to where we want to go.
Yeah, we had a bit of a I wouldn't say an argument, but there was a point in the last week or last episode where we were talking about Dan Quinn and the idea of Dan Quinn being interviewed and hired. And Dan, who is not on with us tonight because he's a bit under the weather, him and I are on the same boat. I that felt like if that would be a regression, and I would hate that, regardless of his accolades and what he's done and whatever. But TJ seemed to be a little higher on him, and
you guys literally were just like, if they don't hire Daboll, then I don't know what I'm going to do with my life. And I was like, well, there are other people out there, and if Joe Shane, you want to put your trust in Joe Shane, then let him make that decision.
of course.
And that's all my point was. I didn't want Dan Quinn to be the coach of the New York Giants. Trust me. I wanted Brian Daboll to be the coach of the New York Giants. So I'm very pleased with that. And I'm very pleased with everything he said. And one thing I want to say specifically from that conference and from what Shane has been saying is how they're going to tailor the offense around the players, which I think is what creates the most success in the NFL. And I read earlier that Daboll asked Daniel Jones what his favorite plays and concepts were from the Giants in the 3 years and even back to Duke. And I think, and that he was going to build the schemes around that. And I think that is amazing. And what this team has really been missing over the years, or at least recently.
Well, I mean, maybe they'll even have some plays that make sense for this oft injured first round pick that we didn't really see that much of this past year. Let's see if he could stay on the field in Kadarius Toney, of course, that I'm alluding to. At least he's got a giant tattoo on his back now.
He'll know what time to get to the game because he has 2 watches to check.
Oh yeah, he has 2 watches. They probably cost as much as a fairly priced car each.
Oh yeah.
And he asks other people what time it is. I'm sure
that's a good question. Nick, what's your opinion on Toney?
So it's I like him. I do. We clearly did not see enough, and I really didn't like the fact that the guy had more injuries in a year than some people have in their careers. So that worries me because in college he did have some injury concerns as well. A couple of my friends they went to University of Florida, and they were like, "Yeah, this kid's absolutely electric, but you may have injury concerns." So I don't have like a negative response to him. It's his rookie year. I'm going to give him a pass. But I also think back, and yes, while having the 5th and 7th picks of the draft is phenomenal, I know sitting and staying at 11, 2 players off the top of my head that are all pros that could be cornerstone players for this team for a decade or longer. We're sitting right there. So that's like my only. It's really my only beef about Toney. The jury's still out. I don't want to pass judgment. But from what we've seen in the short time, the dude's electric. And in 2022, and the way the NFL is going, and now that we have an offensive-minded coach, if he stays healthy, I do think the sky's the limit for him. And I think he's a perfect weapon for a quarterback. So,
yeah, I mean, it just depends on who they pick 7th this year. Because if that becomes that cornerstone player that you could have got at 11,
then
fine.
It's okay.
I've lamented not picking Micah Parsons and Rashawn Slater any number of times in this podcast, but we'll see what happens. And I'm hoping that the new guys coming in can scheme him in a way, because he is a player that needs to be schemed in.
Yes.
In a way that won't get him injured. I mean, he's a tough guy. I mean, it seems like he's a tough runner. Like he wants to get the yards. I think that could be detrimental to him at times. Yeah. But anyway, we don't need to.
It's almost like Daniel Jones running. He's trying to get that last yard if his life depended on it.
Yeah. And I think that's a great segue into talking about Jones, because there's been a lot of talk about Jones this week. And Joe Shane said that they want to build an offense to accentuate what Daniel Jones does best. I mean, where do you guys at on Jones? Like, are you happy that they're not really looking at another quarterback to give him another year? Or what do you think there, Nick?
So I've gone back and forth on this so many times. And I think with now this new regime, if they went a little bit more of like a power offensive coach hire, more like a Harbaugh, or even in a sense like a Dan Quinn, an established head coach or something, I would have really, really explored the idea of trading for Russell Wilson. I don't think right now, I don't think that's what they're going to do. So I've come off on that idea. And to be honest, there are tools of Daniel Jones that I do like. I think he's tough. We know he's tough. I think he is smart. He's intelligent. He's got a great deep ball, like accuracy wise. We've seen that, but he's also been so, I want to say, limited in the scheme and coaching and offensive line play that he really has not had a chance. I think for his sake and the Giants' sake for this year, he is probably their best option. Now, money wise and just overall idea of working with Daboll and seeing what he could do with him and this offensive coaching staff. But they need to bring in competition as backup. I think that is more important than who starts this year. If they're going with Jones, you need. I would love to see Mr. Trubisky here. Why not? Why
absolutely.
not? That's a 2-time playoff quarterback right there, and Daboll just had him for a year. Why not Mr. Trubisky? I think that is a perfect signing, and it makes all the sense in the world. Now I know you asked about Daniel Jones, so I short answer, yes. I think for this year, to be able to, and they're going to probably take 3 offensive linemen in this draft, and I think they're going to upgrade the offensive line, and they're going to have a whole new scheme and a very bright offensive mind. I do want to see what Daniel Jones can do. So I think for this year, do not pick up that 5th-year option.
Yeah.
But for this year, I think he is the best move.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think we, as an organization, and I texted this to TJ and Dan, and I think you have to give John Mara at least a little bit of credit for having the humility to say in an interview that we're screwing this kid up. We already screwed him up. And now they're giving him the opportunity to flourish, have some brains behind him, put him in the best situations he can possibly be in, to use the tools that he has to win and become an even better leader. I think we owe it to him to give him the year. It's almost like almost like another tryout again. Like, here, fresh slate. Let's go. We know you have some skill. You can only get better, and let's put some people around you that actually makes sense. So, yeah, I think that's the best bet. Also, it'd be hilarious if Trubisky comes, because then you got a Duke and a North Carolina quarterback competing with each other.
Look at that!
Which is
There we
insane
go. There's the zinger, Colin. That's what we were missing.
I like 100% agree with you guys on everything you said, and I think we've lamented on this pod a lot that they need to bring in someone behind him to push him. Trubisky's great. We said Mariota a lot too, which I think kind of it can fill kind of the playbook doesn't need to change as much when Mariota is the backup. So that was kind of the guy that I was looking for. If I want to look deeper into this, to me, saying that you're going to build a scheme around Jones is kind of like, saying a McDonald's franchise owner saying he's going to open another McDonald's franchise, because you kind of could just bring that Buffalo Bills scheme over, because Jones and Allen have similarities, even though he's
they definitely
sort of
do. Yep.
Josh Allen light. But what it comes down to me, if there was a Joe Burrow type in this draft, they would package those first 2-round picks and go get him.
Bingo.
But that
player is not there.
Yeah.
So you're 100% right. The best option is to let Jones have another year and see what they could do with him, because albeit he's been streaky as hell through his career and injury prone, but he's shown a lot too. He's shown decision-making, deep throw, running the ball. I mean, he is turnover prone, so he does make bad decisions, but he has worked to clean that up over time. So you could imagine with new mentorship coming in for him that could become maybe a more limited factor moving forward for him, which is what we would want,
Right. And absolutely. And this is the perfect time to do it. You don't need to pick up that 5th-year option, right? Because obviously Carolina is deeply regretting picking up the 5th year for Sam Darnold, which never made sense to me. I get it. You traded a second and a 4th or whatever they did. So I guess to them it made sense, but it just looks like a terrible move right now. This is the perfect time to do it. This is 4th year. This is make or break. Daniel, we are going to upgrade this offensive line. You are going to have an offensive scheme that you want. You, like Brian Daboll said, you are going to tell him what you like to do. Brian Daboll is a bright offensive mind. He is not a Jason Garrett, a Freddie Kitchens, a Joe Judge. You will have all the tools you need this year. You go out and you fumble it 20 times and you only throw 10 touchdowns, it's on you. And I'm sorry, it's over. You're done. You're out. And that means we're probably picking in the top 6 again, and we probably move up to take a quarterback. So this is the perfect opportunity and the perfect time to really see what Daniel is. And I think just based on that alone, financially and circumstantially, and where the team and the roster is right now, and with a new regime, it just makes way too much sense for him to be the starting quarterback for us next year.
Yeah, I mean, it's twofold too, because if they build the offensive line through this draft and free agency, most likely, it doesn't hurt to give him another shot because whoever ends up being the guy next year has a road
Right.
grading in front
You're
of them.
building the team for the next guy if Daniel doesn't work out. Yep.
Exactly.
Let me ask you guys a question.
Yeah.
Do you think that they should trade one of these first round picks to acquire capital for next year? Or do you believe in Daniel Jones that much? Or is that too much of a kind of out there sort of question?
Yeah.
Like, you can't think about picking a quarterback next year, right? You want to fix the team this year.
Right. You're focused so highly on the draft right now, and you didn't even look at quarterbacks next year. And I know the kid from Alabama, but do we really know? Anything could happen in a year.
Yeah.
So it's like, I would love to trade back regardless. I don't want to give one up and just have one pick in the first round, because I think that second pick is a luxury.
Agreed.
And to maybe acquire another second or a third or a couple extra picks, because Lord knows we need an infusion of young talent and we need more picks than when we have. I can't say I want to trade for capital next year. Would I hate it if they did it in the moment? Ask me on draft night when I see what the board looks like. You know,
Sure.
it's like that. That's kind of where my headspace is. And I've been saying it to everybody that I know and everybody that wants to listen to me, which not many people do. I probably shouldn't say that.
We
on
know the
podcast,
feeling.
I'm a guest on. I want them, if the board's right, I want 2 offensive linemen, 5 and 7. That's what I want. Unless Hutchinson or Thibodeau's there, I think this is the perfect, most cost-efficient way to rebuild this offensive line right now. Have 3 cornerstone players on that offensive line.
Yeah.
That's what I want. I do. And
That's what they need.
I understand. It's the biggest weakness, and it's the weakness by far. It is by far the most disgusting weakness on this team.
Yeah.
And with an offensive line, you can compete tomorrow. You can compete. You can win football games in the NFL with an offensive line. And last thing, I know I'm rambling because the draft is a very touchy subject for me.
Yeah.
I don't care that it's the 7th overall pick. I would like to trade back a little bit, but if that kid, Tyler Linderbaum, the center from Iowa, is that good and regarded as like the best center prospect in 10 years, take him. Don't care.
I'm more excited about him than anybody else in this draft.
He is a nasty, beautiful person.
Yeah. You guys remember when the Jets had 2 first-round picks and they picked Nick Mangold and DeBrickashaw Ferguson? And people were like lamenting it. See, that to me was the best draft they ever had. Because they had 2 cornerstones in the offensive line for 10, 12 years. Yeah. Albeit they didn't, have any success there because it's the Jets.
Yes. But Mark Sanchez succeeded behind that offensive line, led by those 2 guys. Those 2 guys are arguably, they obviously won't make it, but those are all pro Hall of Fame type players. Like you have 2 cornerstone players on the offensive line, and I think we have one in Andrew Thomas right now. And I pray to God that Nick Gates can come back and maybe move over to guard. You're talking about 4 of the biggest positions in the NFL, and we haven't had an offensive line in 14 years.
Yeah,
we've seen this story before. Nick Gates could be the new Rich Seubert.
Yep.
He had a debilitating, awful injury that everybody told him he could not come back from. He came back, and not only did he come back, but he was a better player.
Yes,
which is unheard of. But who knows? Nick Gates is a tough guy. So I don't know. We're pulling for him. We hope
I'd love to see him
it.
back. Yeah. I mean, it's a touchy. It's just going to have to play it by ear, and whether or not it's this year, next year, or whatever it is. But you're 100% right. There's essentially 4 open spots in this line now.
Yeah,
it's huge. And I don't think people want to make a comment about Joe Burrow doing it behind a bad offensive line, but he's a special quarterback. You're not going to lump him in with Daniel Jones will never be Joe Burrow. I think everyone realizes that at this point. So for him to be good, and you know what, he doesn't have to be the best quarterback in the NFL to have success on a team. We've seen guys, with good defenses, with good offensive lines, and good running games who could get the job done, make a few really good plays that they had to do, and make a few comeback drives, win the Super Bowl. I mean, Eli Manning is probably that quarterback, right? He was never the best quarterback in the league, or people wouldn't probably even put him in top 10 in some circumstances. So
outside of 1 year,
yeah, basically, or in the playoffs for 2 years. There's just, it's such a glaring need, and it's bizarre because we've spent 4 years talking about hog mollies and whatnot, and none of this ever happened. So if they literally pick 6 offensive linemen in the draft, I'd be very happy.
I wouldn't care. And as number 1 Giants fan, license plate guy on Twitter talks about 9 offensive linemen. Yeah, I know it's an exaggeration, but Would anybody truly be mad at that?
No.
It's crazy. It's crazy.
Not with the way Lorenzo Carter was playing at the end of the year too, because edge rusher's the other thing you want to say, and then he all of a sudden, started to give life. So that position might be, not as much of a need as you think it is.
He seems to be a guy that is a free agent that is a perfect candidate for like, okay, prove it to me this year and then go make your bank.
Yeah.
Like a perfect prove it year deal for Lorenzo Carter lined up right now, because like TJ, like we were saying, he finished very strong. He played phenomenal.
Oh yeah.
I know Azeez Ojulari had 8 sacks, but a lot of those to me weren't, bully edge rushing.
Yeah.
He kind of lucked into a lot of those. Coverage sacks. Yes. I don't think he's that special pass rusher. He's definitely a good player, and he's going to be a good player. But if you do have that, like the Thibodeau or Hutchinson alpha male on the other end, he's going to be even better. And Carter, while I don't think he is one of those, you can never, what does Ernie Accorsi always said? Can never have enough pass rushers.
Yeah.
He drafted Tuck and Osi and everything because he can never have enough.
Yeah.
Because you can't. Pressure the quarterback will always win you football games, or at least they will allow you to be in any football game.
There's an argument to be made that the 2 Super Bowl wins were, a lot to do with the defensive line. I mean,
exactly.
Maybe not an argument. Maybe it just was that way.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Yes. Without a couple heroic plays from the offense and, a bounce here and there with Wes Welker dropping it and Asante Samuel dropping a pick, I get it. But without the pressure on Tom Brady in those 2 Super Bowls, I'm sorry.
100%.
We don't win.
100%.
We do not win.
100%. All right. I want to move on for a second, and I want to go back to what Colin talked about with John Mara saying how they did everything to screw up Daniel Jones. So, Snacks, I know that you wrote a couple of strongly worded letters to John Mara this season. So do you take these words as sort of him growing as an owner, or do you think that he's just saying what he has to say?
No, I actually I was texting Justin, or I was on the phone with Justin last week, and I told him, I'm like, I'm not giving myself any credit, because I'm sure I'm one of many people who wrote nasty, disgusting, despicable things to him. But I think it finally hit him that this all had to change. You remember last time the GM position was open and we interviewed 4 guys, 3 of which were in the organization?
Yeah.
Or Gettleman, who has been in the organization for 15 years.
Yeah.
They did an extensive search, and all the reports were that Mara loves Flores, and we hired Daboll, which was clearly Shane's guy. I think it finally hit him, and his words now are reflecting that. Like, listen, I heard you. I realized it. I opened my eyes. This is it. They got all the reins.
Yeah.
All the reins. So,
he probably has a little bit of the back of his head too, though. It's like, well, if this doesn't work out, I get someone to blame now, and it's not my fault.
that too. If he doesn't put on the forefront of it, yep, it's somebody else, not him.
Yeah.
And I'll write my letter to the other person and not John Mara.
He doesn't want to get booed at the next Ring of Honor ceremony during
I don't want to boo
him.
I want to be happy about John Mara, because there was a point in time where we all were. Remember those days?
Exactly. And Colin, I wrote that in my life. I was like, I truly, truly, truly hope that in a few years I could write you a really nice letter thanking you for turning this around. That's what I want.
Yeah. It's what everyone wants.
Well, we'll see.
Of course. I mean, well, when you're winning, everything's great. And you don't really analyze like the nitty gritty of what's going on. And then once you start losing, there's a lot of finger pointing. And at the end of the day, it's at the top, because that's the person who's making these bonehead, hires. And I couldn't agree with you more. I'm like very pleased with everything, even though I have to bring up this article I read, which is the most insane thing ever, where John Mara was like, I really liked Joe Shane. I thought I was going to hire him because I booked him the worst seat on the airplane. He didn't seem to complain about it. And I was like, man, that's like the most billionaire thing I've ever heard anyone say in my life.
It really, really is. Like, that is unbelievable that even is an actual statement that he made.
And what a lack of awareness. Why would you think your GM hire is going to complain to you about the seat he had on the plane, you moron?
He's trying to be a GM for the New York Giants. You think he's going to complain to the owner about his seat?
It's so stupid.
I mean, when they asked, Daboll said it best today when they asked him at the press conference, why'd you pick this job? He's like, well, New York Giants is a historic franchise.
Yeah.
Yep.
And that was the worst seat in the plane.
And that was the thing being thrown around, like, how desirable is this job? And I know the obvious answer is like, well, it's 1 of 32. It's open, so you take it. But that's also, I get that, but it's not the Houston Texans or the Jacksonville Jaguars. It is the New York Giants. That still rings true, regardless of how in the dump we are in, how much we're in the dumpster. They are still the New York Giants, and that's always going to ring true for these guys. And when these openings happen, and hopefully, fingers crossed, the GM and the head coaching position are not open for a long time.
Yeah.
So,
and I mean, in the press conference with Daboll as well today too, I forget who it was, which beat reporter it was, but they said, "Oh, you look at someone like the Bengals in the last 2 years and the records that they have, and now they're going to be in the Super Bowl. What do you think about the possibility of doing that here?" And not his answer was not what I'm getting to. Just the fact that that is something that happened.
like
You can have it turn around. The NFL is so about parity that if you get the right people with brains in their heads, they can do something like that.
Right, Collins. We the Bengals and the Niners both last year were last place in their division.
Yeah,
and we don't play in the NFC West. Like this is it is feasible. I'm not. None of us are sitting here and saying, okay, yeah, we're going to playoffs and we're making a run next year. But with competent coaching and competent leadership, yes, this thing can be turned around quicker than later.
And it seems cliche, but I liked one thing that Shane said in his press conference, or maybe it was in one of the interviews, Bob Papa or whatever, how the number one focus, just win the division, and then everything else takes care of itself. And it's like, well, when you simplify it like that, you can work towards that. I mean, the NFC East is such a crapshoot that, the Cowboys can blow next year, and you wouldn't even be surprised,
They were the best team in the division. They won 10 games, and they could have lost three other ones. So,
and I called 3 months ago they were
blow.
going to lose that playoff game too. I knew they were going to.
Oh yeah, it was amazing. That was amazing. Any Cowboy hate, I'm here for.
All those teams are bad. I think the Cowboys are bad too. The Cowboys aren't a good team. They're
Mike McCarthy
they're horrifically coached, right?
Yeah, he's just a big fat baby man who looks like he should be wearing a diaper all the time.
Yeah.
Their defense had a tremendous turnaround because whoever their coordinator was, I forget his name. Dan Quinn, that's right. And
it's Dan Quinn. Yeah.
But listen, like it is theirs for the taking, and I'm not going to say anything, and I want to say a bunch of stuff right now, but I should hold my tongue and not start to prognosticate on any of this.
Don't do it. Don't do it.
But I feel good. I feel good, and I think this is something I want to say in every Giants pod because we've been so beat down.
Yeah,
you have to feel good. You have to feel good right now.
Yep.
And you should.
And I think that's the moral of everything going on right now. Everything is looking up. Okay, we got two guys in here that know each other well. They even seem like friends, and they're going to be on the same page. They're young. They're in 2022 NFL. We have 2 top 10 picks. We have 2 third-round picks. There was a lot to like about the future of what's going on with the New York Giants, and that is a very big, very drastic change from the last few years. So I'm here for it.
Oh yeah. All right. Speaking of continuity, I want to talk about Patrick Graham for a second, guys. So basically, Daboll said today that if Graham didn't get a head coaching job, he was coming back. Colin, what do you think about Graham coming back? Are you happy about that, or
I am
you want him
happy
to get a
about
head
it.
coaching job? I should say. That was
Well, you know what, and Daboll said it himself in the press conference too. It's like, I mean, when he was asked, what do you feel about him sticking around? It's like, well, that's the plan. If I have anything to say about it, basically, I want him to stick around. The continuity is great. They had a working relationship with the Patriots for 3 seasons, I believe. And they know each other well. So, of course, they'd want to keep that intact because any good football mind or fellow coach in the NFL saw that the defense wasn't the problem with the Giants. Yeah, the defense had some bad games, but they had bad games because they were run ragged. They weren't allowed to get some rest on the sideline. And you could not see the ceiling being even sniffed because they were not given the opportunity to work at their full potential. You get an offense that keeps themselves on the field for nice, long, time-killing drives, and then all of a sudden you got this rabid defense coming out and attacking. We could see that with Patrick Graham. I think we all had issues at times where it seemed in the last 2 years that maybe he did a little too much of cushiony zone defense, especially in the secondary, where in retrospect, I think he was doing what he had to with what he had. Mm-hmm. I don't think it would always be that way given a different circumstance. So similar to Daniel Jones, you have to give Patrick Graham another chance to do something in a better situation. And that, Shane and Daboll have to kind of help him out on that front and put, again, the pieces in the offense to allow that to happen. So, yeah, I like that. I hope he doesn't go somewhere else as a head coach, but power to him, and I'd be happy to him if he does. And we get 2 third-round picks if that happens.
Yes, we do.
Really?
Yes, we do.
Yes, which is insane.
It's to me, that whole rule is a joke. But
the compensatory pick system is a little wacky, huh?
That's a story for another day.
Yeah. I mean, I don't even want to go there because we want to.
No. I know, and I'm glad you brought that up because I was just about to and say, like, I see people that are like, oh, I hope he gets the Minnesota job because we get 2/3. Yes, that's all well and good. I hope Patrick Graham gets a job because I think Patrick Graham deserves a head coaching job. Just as a man and a coach, I think he deserves a coaching job or a head coaching job, I should say. And the man has never had, at least with the Giants, a pass rusher. He lost his quarterback of the defense in the 3rd game of the season this year. So many things against him. But I loved how honest Daboll was. They were like, the reports are that if Patrick Graham doesn't get a head coaching job, that you're going to keep him as defense coordinator. And Daboll goes, yeah, that's true. That's accurate. Yeah. Very upfront. I love that.
When do you see that? You never see that.
When? Exactly. To me, that was so cool. And I was like, let's go. Minnesota, hire somebody else. I want Graham back.
Yeah.
Although I do kind of like the idea of Wink Martindale, who blitzes like a madman, and we have no pass rush, and I think we have a good enough secondary to withstand these blitzes. So that is kind of enticing. But I to answer your question, DJ, I would be very happy if we retain Patrick Graham because that defense really isn't going to change that much, and those guys know him, they respect him, they love him. So run it back.
And Daboll said as well, he would lean into his experience because obviously the guy knows his defense.
Yeah.
So that's just a bridge between that side of the ball and Daboll's, preferred offense. So
right, and when you got a guy that's been there for 2 years, who's had success, a guy you've worked with. Okay, yeah, I'm an offensive coach. Maybe 65% of my practices is going to be with Daniel Jones in the offense. I trust that man with the defense to go over there and lead them and get them prepared, lead them in meetings and everything like that. So I think, again, that word continuity, that's where that comes in as well.
I don't really have much to add to what you guys said, but I'll just reiterate kind of what Colin was saying was that I don't think he was running the schemes he wanted to run because he couldn't because he didn't have the personnel. And I don't think he was able to rush the passer. So they had to run a lot of stuff he didn't want to do. They want to run aggressive man coverage. They want to rush the passer. He ran a defense that he wasn't really comfortable running and had a great deal of success for it.
Bingo.
So being said, I love him as a coach. I hope he does get that job because that's a great opportunity, as Daboll said in the presser. But if he's back, I'm happy. And hang on, guys, one sec. The moment we've been waiting for since September is finally here. In honor of the big game, DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of Super Bowl 56, is giving new customers 56-1 odds on either team. Bet just $5 and get $280 in free bets if your team wins. DraftKings Sportsbook is live in New York, meaning you can bet for almost a third of the country. If Sportsbook isn't available in your state yet, play DraftKings Daily Fantasy Football Contest for Super Bowl 56. New customers can get a free shot at $1 million top prize with their first deposit. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app. Use promo code TPPN and get 56-1 odds on either team. Bet just $5 and get $280 in free bets if your team wins. That's promo code TPPN at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of Super Bowl 56. 21 plus, minimum age and location requirements vary by jurisdiction. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for full list of requirements and state-specific responsible gaming resources. Void where prohibited. Gaming problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER in Tennessee or call or text the TN Red Line, 1-800-889-9789. In Connecticut, call 888-798-777 or visit ccpg.org/chat. In New York, call 8778-HOPENY or text HOPE-NY 467-369.
Wow, they really added a lot to that one.
That was a lot. I don't know if I got on that.
Which, by the way, I have to ask this question. Do you guys get surprised every year when you hear what number Super Bowl we're about to watch?
I didn't even know it was 56.
Yeah, that's insane.
It's nuts.
It is crazy.
Nuts.
Not to switch gears a little bit, but I think this is a good time for it. I tried so hard to find it, and I couldn't. I didn't know what to look up title-wise, but Nick, it must be on YouTube, I guess. That special about going to your house and watching a game with your family. I saw it. I don't know if it was this year or last year, but it was like the best thing I've ever seen, and I just felt like you were like a brother from another mother, because I feel like there have been times in my life, and TJ's seen it, and many of my very close friends have seen it, where I become a different person. I'm almost possessed. I do things that don't make any sense because of this team and what it does to me. And I wanted to just say that I'm happy to see someone like myself out there.
Yes, there are others like you. It's a completely deranged, disgusting behavior that happens every Sunday. Actually, it's funny. After that game, they officially broke me. I don't sit down when I'm at home and I watch games. I stand right in front of the TV. I have my glass of wine in front of me, and I stand and I watch and I scream and I yell. It's disgusting behavior. It really is. And they were asking me because I'm serious.
I just love the way you describe it. It's perfect.
Disgusting.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah.
It's nuts. I say in order. This is how my life goes. My life priorities: family, Giants, family, breathing. In that order. That's how I feel. It is that sick of lunatic behavior. And they were asking me afterwards. They're like, yo, is this like, would you put an act on for the cameras today? I'm like, what? No, that's exactly what I do. If you weren't here, I'd be doing the same thing. I'd be hitting the chairs, punching walls, punching holes in my wall. It's what I do. That's it.
What was the story behind it? Did someone approach you? Did you know this guy? I forget.
No, so it was Barstool Sports. They Roan, the guy's name, Adam Ferrone, his name. He goes by Roan. He tweeted out doing a video on Giants fans this weekend, looking for a psychotic Giants fan or one with great traditions. And then all of a sudden my Twitter blew up. Everybody was tagging me in it because you may read some of my notes after games. I am a lunatic. And my Twitter absolutely blows up. And a couple hours later, I get a DM from him. He goes, "So what's the deal on Sunday?" I was like, "What are you talking about?" He's like, "Well, what are you doing for the game?" I'm like, "I'm going to get drunk and I'm going to watch it and I'm going to have macaroni and meatballs afterwards." He's like, "Perfect. You mind if we come film?" I was like, "Yeah, sure. Come on by. Just tell me how many people so we can make enough food and buy enough wine." And he's like, "Yeah, cool. Got it." And they came and they were in awe. Like, it was that crazy. I had a couple friends over. One of my buddies is the diehard Giants fan, just like me. Me and him, we like punch each other in the face and everything. It's all just such an absolute disgraceful mess.
You were screaming at your dad and stuff.
Oh yeah. Every time, yeah. Because he's trying to eat dinner. I'm like, "Dad, the game's on." "No, we're not eating now. We're not eating now." He's like, I'm hungry. Like, shut up. We're not eating yet. He goes, "But they're hungry too." I'm like, "I don't care." So
I gotta watch this video. I can't believe I didn't watch this.
It's wonderful.
TJ,
Yeah, how can you? Is it just Barstool and like what is it called? Is it just like Sunday with the Giants?
So you know what? It's I don't even know what it's called. It's like they say something like went to a Giants fan's house and learn what it's like to be a sick fan and learn how to be an Italian. I know. I don't look it. I know. I get that. But it was it's funny. I will
when you said you had to make enough food for everybody, I was like, well, he's definitely Italian.
Yeah, it was.
Yes, we did. We had to my brother's a great cook, and he made probably 100 meatballs. He made like 2 pounds of spaghetti, and I went to the best bakery around. I got the best bread in North Jersey. It was all just, they're lucky. They're lucky, I'll tell you that. And it's funny. I'll send you guys the link of the video, and after this is over.
They got a great video, and they got fed too.
Yes, they did. My only beef about them though was my dog is adorable, and I put the Giant sweater on him, and they only had him in for like 10 seconds.
Ah, boo.
Little Benny, man.
Yeah.
Little Benny. Not named after Kakadu.
It was great. It was great, man.
He definitely has a better haircut, I would imagine.
Oh yeah. It was something. It was a fun day.
We've discussed it on multiple occasions since we started this podcast of the various things that I've done over the years that are borderline
Colin loves to
psychotic.
flip tables, man.
Yeah, well,
Flipping
college.
tables.
Yeah, college
is
was
table
bad
flipping.
because the older I get, the less high strung I get.
God
I
bless. I think
I
I
let
think
it.
it's opposite for me.
Well, maybe I get high strung in other senses, but the Giants, it's become more of a resigned thing where I realize it's not worth the stress, which is
Right.
almost worse. I lament the fact that I've gotten to the point where I don't care as much.
You're numb.
Numb, yes, exactly.
You're
But
numb to it. Yep.
back in the day when I basically it dictated the mood for the week, depending on win or loss, or how they won
my
or
God.
lost. Lose. I can't even speak anymore.
I've been subject to this for my entire life. Is like the Giants winning or losing. It's like Colin and I've been best friends since we were little kids. It's like, oh well, I guess I just won't talk to him this week. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll make sure to stay away. I'll
Yeah.
make sure to stay away.
You know
It's
what
like
I'm worried about, Colin, is that when they start winning again, knock on wood, I don't want to, go too crazy right now. I feel like it's going to come back, but it's going to be scary and also really good for the podcast.
Well, yeah. Well, but I
correct.
think the difference is I didn't have responsibilities then, so now I can focus in on owning a house and like doing job related stuff. And then it was like college where it was drinking a lot of beer and just being a general idiot. But the best thing that TJ and Dan always bring up is hate naps, and I'm sure I have a feeling, Nick, this is something that you might do. I don't know. Tell me if I'm wrong. Well, I've gotten so frustrated with this team in multiple different scenarios, whether it's actually sitting in my seat at the game or watching the draft, where if I didn't like something that would happen, I would feel the strong need to think that, well, the Giants don't deserve my attention, so I'm going to sleep on them right now, and that'll show them. And I've literally forced myself to fall asleep sitting in my seat.
The Justin Pugh first round pick was the one I remember the most.
Well, because they were
right
talking
away.
about his little short arms leading up to the draft so much, and I couldn't stand it because what year was that?
I don't remember. Something like that.
Yeah. And our buddy Nick would hammer me with it. It's like, oh, pew pew with his T-Rex arms. Yeah.
Nick, who's been on the pod, you should say, several times.
Nick, who's been on the pod.
He's always a good one. Should we jump and talk about the Super Bowl for just a few minutes before we go? Yeah. I don't want to get too hard into this because we've gone a little long. But who do you guys want to win? That's it. Yeah, Cincinnati, baby.
Yeah,
I'm sorry. Short answer. I'm a huge Joe Burrow fan. I think what they did in just a short order and the fact that they were patient with Zach Taylor and they kept him aboard after like 4 wins in 3 years, which is insane, or 2, whatever it was. They kept him. They drafted Burrow. They lucked into Joe Burrow, and I ripped them for drafting Jamar Chase over Penei Sewell because I thought offensive line was exactly what they needed. They needed to protect Joe Burrow, and they took Jamar Chase, and it has worked out like a bandit. And the fact that they just went into Arrowhead in front of those crazy fans and they won, and they came back from 18 points down in the second half. Yeah. Impossible not to root for them.
I mean, Jamar Chase is an all-pro as a rookie. When was the last time that happened?
Crazy. Yeah, that's a great question.
I agree. I thought that pick was terrible, and we're wrong. We're 100% wrong.
Dead wrong.
Did you see that picture of their father smoking cigars?
Yes, I love that. Colin, that was like one of the coolest pictures I've seen in the NFL this year.
And they're both named Jimmy.
So cool. Yes.
It's awesome.
Yep. Another cool one was the photo. I forget who the player was, like carrying Burrow off the field, and then the side by side with him, the same player carrying him off the field.
They won the championship.
Yeah. I forget. I wish I could remember his name.
I mean, you know what?
Shout out, but
and I'm not. I don't want to say it. I don't, because the two teams are completely different. But since he's got a little bit of 07 Giants in him,
I agree.
All right, like they do. They went on the road. They've beaten teams. They've been underdog in every. Well, they were favored against the Raiders by 6 points, so it's a little difficult.
That could have went either way.
Exactly. Even though they're favored, I didn't think they were going to win that game. Honestly, I didn't think they were going to win any game.
No, and you know what? They should have lost the first 2 games.
Yeah.
Shoot, they should have lost all 3. If you think about it.
Yeah, right.
It's crazy, but they're resilient. They found a way, and here they are. It's just an impossible team to root against, and I feel like the whole country will be rooting for Cincy, and rightfully so.
I just want to say that. Hang on, Colin. I know you want to go. Hang on. I'm just going to say that you're 100% right. It's impossible to root against them because I was rooting for Stafford so hard all year to win a ring because I thought he deserved it so much. And then now I'm sitting here a week or 2 weeks out of the Super Bowl. I'm like, I'm going to root against the guy I've been rooting for all year because I just love Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase. I just love the story. It's a great story.
It's amazing. And I'm so sorry to interrupt, TJ.
No, go ahead. Go. I'm done.
And Colin, I'll get to it too because sometimes I'll blabber on. So as you guys probably heard. Then there's the opposite though. I was thinking about it when I said it's impossible not to root for them. The only possible way to root against them is to not see Eli Apple.
Man, I've gone out of my way to trash talk him on Twitter every day.
Yep.
I have to.
And he's making it work. Like, dude, you're calling out Tyreek Hill. Really? You're calling out Tyreek Hill.
Calling
you have no idea when they threw him the ball, like when Patrick Mahomes threw him the ball to go win the game in overtime and he dropped it. And I was like, this MFer again. And then, but then you got BJ Hill coming in to seal the deal for you. So
Yep. There he comes. There, another former Giant. Dude,
that's a whole other pod on itself. How we also gave away another draft pick to get a Billy Price. Anyway, we'll just move on from that.
Yeah.
And then I know there's on the Rams side. I know there's a big fraction of the fan base that loves Odell Beckham Jr. I personally am not a fan, but I'm not going to sit here and be like whatever. I think the whole I'm so happy for him. Blah, 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 blah. I think that's a little much. The dude did everything he could to run himself out of New York, and then did everything he could to run himself out of Cleveland. So I'm sorry, he should not be like a feel good story or whatnot. Yeah. I'm happy for him. He's an unbelievable player. Like I have no ill will or anything like that. If he wins, great, good for you, man. But the fact that they're saying like, free OBJ, I'm so happy for him. The dude did everything he could to get traded and get cut. So I don't want to hear the sob stories.
Yeah.
Anyway, go Bengals.
I do want to bring him up because we brought him up last week as a head coaching candidate, but what a phenomenal job Lou Anarumo or Anarumo. Yeah, that's how you pronounce it. The defensive coordinator for the Bengals, Staten Island guy. That defense has been insane. Yeah. Besides Eli Apple, that defense has done an incredible job.
Whatever they did at halftime was remarkable.
The adjustments.
Unbelievable. Yep. That you could argue that's one of the best halftime adjustments for a defense in a long time.
Yeah, Tyreek Hill didn't do anything in the second half.
Nothing. And they had plenty of opportunities too. Yeah. And they clamped down. Big turnover.
They were just giving a cushion, and the Saints will kill you giving them a cushion. So they got aggressive. I think that, maybe a blueprint against that team in the future. Who knows?
Yeah.
With that being said, guys, thanks for listening tonight. Please follow Big Blue United on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Follow us on BBU Pod Boys with a Z on Twitter. Don't forget to follow Nicky Snacks. Nicky, give me your Twitter handle there because I closed my iPad.
Nope, all good, brother. All good. So snacks_BDGE. I used to eat a lot of chips when I was a kid. My cousin started calling me Nicky Snacks. So there you go.
And I want to say this too. We're starting to bring more and more people that we've befriended on Twitter on here. I can't wait for next season because I think we got to get together. All these people got to get together. I hear about all these fan meetups and stuff like that.
Dude, I'm not even kidding.
Yeah.
I'm not saying this like for me, but like, or, not giving myself too much credit because I'm a very humble person. I throw a great tailgate, man. We've had everybody over here. We take shots. We chug beers. We play flip cup, everything. It's a great time. We blast music.
Yeah.
Let's go. Next year, I want to do a whole big thing.
Love that.
Yeah, we got to.
All right, guys. Thanks for listening. Don't forget to download their DraftKings app. Have a good night.
Yeah, thanks for coming, man.
Thanks, Nick, for coming on, man.
Oh, thank you guys for having me. I loved it. Loved it.
Right on.